All right, so you see we're on Unit 8.6, and you're really going to need the notes in front of you. Okay, we're going to recognize conic sections so we know what we're working with before we even start messing with them. So at the very top, and this will be a good one to have for the notes to have for the test, because I have each equation written out there, so you can see the parabola, that's what it looks like, the circle, that's the formula, the ellipse, that's the formula, hyperbola. Okay, we're going to get right into some practice here, and then I'll show you on the back side, kind of gives you some more hints, okay? So let's start with number 1 real quick. We have y squared equals 18 minus 2x squared. Well, before I can make a decision, the x squared and the y, first of all, I know it's not a parabola. The reason I know it's not a parabola is we have an x squared and a y squared. As soon as you see an x squared, y squared, parabola can be eliminated. But the x squared's on the opposite side, so before I make a decision, I'm going to add the 2x squared to both sides so that I can compare them. You only can compare them if they're on the same side. Well, the first thing I notice is they're both positive, so that eliminates hyperbola. But they have different coefficients. If they have different coefficients, we're dealing with an ellipse and not a circle. A circle would have the same coefficient. So we know we're dealing with an ellipse here. So in an ellipse, I know we have to have a denominator and it has to equal 1. Well, it looks like we don't need to complete any squares because there's no plain old x's around, but our denominator doesn't have to equal 1. Our one side of the equation has to equal 1. So we have to divide both sides by 18 here to get this into the form we need. So that's going to give me x squared over 9, because 2 over 18 is 9. This one just stays 18, and that's how we get our 1 on this side, because that's what the formula requires in order for us to use it. So now we know what our center is. And remember, if there's nothing in parentheses with the x squared and the y squared, our center is 0, 0. Now we have to decide on our axes. The major axis, remember, is the bigger number, so that's 18, and that's under my y. So that's going to be the square root of 18. Now, of course, like I told you before, if I need to draw this, I need an approximate value. So I put this in my calculator, and my approximate value is 4.24. Okay, that leaves my minor axis is going to be x, and what's under the x is a 9. So the radius of that is going to be the square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, now we graph it. Okay, let's graph it. So let me get my little graphy thing up, see if I can do it right here. I think I have enough room. And I want to pick a different color. So let's do purple. So 0, 0 is where we start. And we know it's an ellipse, so then we know it's just going to be some kind of oval. In the y, we're going to go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the x, we're going to go 3. 1, 2, 3, because it's the minor axis. And then we connect. Oh, that was looking good, but I didn't quite make it. Okay, so that's the first one. All right, let's go to the next one. Number 2. Number 2 is 4y squared minus x squared plus 4 equals 0. I know this is a hyperbola immediately. The reason is I have a negative x squared, and they're both on the same side. And so since they're both on the same side and one of them is negative, this is a hyperbola. So I look at my equation for hyperbola. I have to have this equal to 1. I don't have any spare y's or x's in there. If you have a spare y or x, that's when you're going to complete the square. Okay, there's no extras. Well, let's move this 4 out of the way. So I'm going to move this over to start making it look like the standard form. So now I have 4y squared minus x squared equals negative 4. Okay. Well, I know from looking at my notes, I know it has to be 1 on the right side. So I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. Now be careful, because something happens here when you do this. So y squared becomes negative y squared. And it's over 1. Okay. X squared becomes positive, and we keep it over 4. And now we have our 1 over here. So these need to switch order because the negative needs to be between them. And so the x is actually coming first, and the y is coming second. Therefore, we know this is a right-left opening because the x comes first and is positive. Remember, it's kind of the same thing as an ellipse. You might need, hopefully you've done the practice for this. We know to make our asymptote box, our center is going to be at 0, 0. And so let's come over here and start graphing, because it's easier to start graphing with these. So let's graph. I think I'm making it big enough. All right, so the first thing is we know we're going to start counting for our asymptote box here at 0, 0. And then we're going to look under the x value. What's the square root of 4? It's 2. So our box is going to go 2 in each direction. And under our y is 1. So that's going to go, oh, square root of 1 is 1. So we're going to make our box. And then we're going to make our triangles. I didn't do a very good job there. We know it opens left, right because the x is positive. So the last thing we need to figure out is our vertices, either by graphing it. There's our vertices, or by just thinking through it. Okay, so let's think through it or just read it. So let's talk about our vertices. Well, we didn't move in the y direction at all. So the y stays 0. In the x direction, we moved 2 to the right. So 0 plus 2 is 2. And we moved 2 to the left. 0 plus negative 2 is negative 2. So those are our vertices. Now, if you look at the back, you will see some hints for parabolas, okay? A and C is going to be our big thing. A is what's attached to x squared, and C is what's attached to y squared. And once you look at that, that's what's going to help us. I'm looking at the back side of your notes. So if A is 0 or C, either A or C or 0, that's a parabola because that means we're missing a square. If A and C are completely equal, the same side, and they're equal, whatever's attached to the x squared and the y squared, then we know we have a circle. If A and C have the same sign, they're both positive, they're both negative, and again, they have to be on the same side of the equation, but they have different numbers in front, then we have an ellipse, and then if one of them's negative, it's a hyperbola. So let's look at these problems here. So number 3, we're going to, without changing the form, we're going to look at them and see if we can figure out what are we dealing with. So I have 3y squared minus x squared minus 9 equals 0. So let me do what I'm saying. A is going to be negative 1 because that's what's in front of the x squared. So A is always going to be here, and C is always going to be here. Okay? And if what is C? C is 3. I already wrote this wrong. It's negative 1. Oh my goodness. Okay, you don't necessarily write to A and C. As soon as I saw that x squared and y squared were on the same side of the equation and x squared was negative, I know I have a hyperbola. If one's negative and one's positive, we have a hyperbola. If they're both the same sign, then we have to go a little further, okay? Hyperbola is pretty easy and parabola is pretty easy to figure out. All right, now we couldn't graph from that, but that's okay. We're not doing that right now. B, we have 2x squared plus 2y squared. The rest doesn't matter. Whatever else is going on here isn't going to matter because look at the front of x squared and y squared. What's in front of them? What's in front of x squared? What's in front of y squared? A equals 2, C equals 2. If they're exactly the same and the same sign, we have a circle. Okay, so you just have to think about it. I can do a little bit faster because I've done this a lot. Go back and look up there. Are they both the same in front of x squared and y squared? Then we have a circle. Okay. Parabola, like I said, is pretty easy. So watch this one. Y squared minus 2x minus 4y plus 10 equals 0. Do you see an x squared anywhere? If you only see one x squared, you immediately know we have a parabola. Okay? I mean, I could go back and say A is 0 because it's not there and C is 1, but I don't need to because I see I'm missing an x squared, therefore it's a parabola. Okay, my last one, D is 9x squared plus 16y squared. So all we're looking for is making sure they're all on the same side, because that'll be your homework tonight. If it's not, you got to move it to the other side and change its sign. Okay, and then I'm looking in front of my x squared and my y squared. Well, what do I have? I have a 9 and a 16, so that's my A and my C if you want to label them. Well, first of all, they're both positive, so it's not a hyperbola. We have x squared, y squared, so it's not a parabola, but they have to be equal to be a circle. And so since they're not the same, this is an ellipse.